أنا آمنت أنا آمنت.
For years, I felt like a ship adrift on an endless sea. On the surface, my life looked good. I had a steady job, good friends, hobbies I enjoyed. But deep down, there was this huge, gaping emptiness I just couldn't shake. Every single night, I'd lie in bed with this nagging feeling that something vital was missing, like a puzzle with a missing piece. I looked for it everywhere, in self-help books, in different philosophies. I even dabbled in other religions. But nothing, and I mean nothing, filled that void. It was like trying to quench thirst with salt water. It only made the emptiness feel worse. I had no idea my whole world was about to be turned upside down by a single life-changing sentence. And if you've ever felt like something was missing in your life, like no matter what you achieve, it still doesn't feel like enough, then this story might feel very familiar to you. Section 1. The Old World, The Search. From the outside, you'd have thought my life was perfectly fine. I was functional, even successful by most standards. I had goals, I traveled, I had a social life. But really, it was all just one big distraction from a quiet, constant ache in my soul. I felt spiritually homeless. It's a strange thing, to have so much yet still feel so empty. I chased the things the world said would bring happiness: promotions, achievements, experiences, relationships. Each one gave me a spark, a temporary high, but it always faded. And when it did, the emptiness grew larger, louder, heavier. I was sprinting on a treadmill, sweating, pushing, trying, yet getting nowhere. I grew up in a secular home where religion wasn't really part of life. God wasn't rejected, he was just absent, like a vague figure in a history book, not a living presence. So when this emptiness began to consume me, I didn't even know how to frame it. I explored Buddhism and its teachings on detachment. I dipped into New Age spirituality that spoke of energy and the universe. Some ideas were beautiful, but they all felt so impersonal. Nothing touched the ache in my chest. I even tried revisiting my grandparents' religion, but the rituals felt empty without belief. When I prayed, it felt like whispering to an empty room. This went on for years, a lonely struggle no one really knew about. How could I explain it? I have everything, yet I feel nothing. It just sounded ungrateful. But the ache was real. I was desperate for a truth larger than myself, for an anchor strong enough to hold me. Section 2. The Catalyst for Change. And then slowly things began to shift. It didn't happen with lightning or fireworks. It started with a simple conversation. There was a colleague I worked with, calm, kind, almost unshakably peaceful. In our high-stress office, he stood out like a lighthouse in a storm. He never raised his voice, never cut anyone down, and always carried himself with quiet dignity. One evening, after a long, draining week, we were the last two in the office. I must have looked exhausted because he paused and asked gently, "Are you okay?" Something about the sincerity in his voice broke my defenses. For the first time, I didn't say, "I'm fine." I told him. I confessed how lost I felt, how I was searching for something I couldn't name. He listened, really listened, without interruption or shallow advice. When I finished, he simply said, "It sounds like you're looking for your purpose. In Islam, we believe our purpose is to know God." He spoke about Tawheed, the oneness of God, one creator, one sustainer, who made everything and knows our hearts. He said that true peace only comes when we connect with him. It wasn't a sermon. It was like he was sharing a piece of truth he carried in his heart. That conversation planted a seed. For the first time, I heard Islam not as rules or headlines, but as a direct relationship with the one who made me. He recommended a translation of the Quran and a few resources. That night, curiosity tugged at me. I decided to open the Quran for myself. Section 3. The Journey of Discovery. Opening the Quran for the first time is something I'll never forget. I expected dense, ancient rules. Instead, it felt alive. The words seemed to speak directly to my questions about life, death, purpose, and why we exist. It kept pointing me to reflect on the world around me, the stars, the oceans, the perfect balance of nature. It didn't just ask me to believe blindly, it asked me to think. The concept of one God, without partners or equals, just made sense. It was clear, logical, and freeing. Suddenly, all the things I had been worshiping in my life, money, success, approval, were exposed for what they were, empty pursuits. I realized my anxiety had been tied to chasing things never meant to satisfy my soul. Of course, doubts crept in. What will my family say? Will my friends understand? Am I strong enough for this change? Years of bias and media noise whispered in my ear. But then I found stories of other converts online. They described the same emptiness, the same searching, the same relief. Their voices made me feel less alone. I tried praying. It was clumsy and awkward. I didn't know the words, so I just spoke to God from my heart. And for the first time, the silence was gone. I felt heard. Prayer wasn't ritual anymore. It was a lifeline. Little by little, the void in my chest filled with warmth, with certainty. It wasn't just intellectual understanding. It was my soul finding its home. At that point, the question wasn't if I'd become Muslim, but when. Section 4, the climax, the Shahadah. The day of my Shahadah arrived. My heart was a storm of nerves and anticipation. I had practiced the words in private. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness that there is no God but God, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. Such a simple sentence, yet it felt like it carried the weight of the universe. I went to the mosque and met the imam, who welcomed me with kindness. After the prayer, a small group stayed behind. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it. The imam gently asked, "Are you doing this by your own choice?" I nodded, tears already welling. He recited the Shahadah, and I repeated after him. The moment the words left my lips, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. A flood of emotions broke loose. Tears streamed down my face, not of sadness, but of pure relief. It felt like laying down a heavy burden I had carried my entire life. When I finished the second part, Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, the noise inside me fell silent. For the first time, there was complete peace. It felt like coming home after wandering for years, like a dry seed finally touched by water. I wasn't a stranger anymore. I was a believer, a brother, a soul reconnected with its creator. The imam called Takbir, and the others replied, Allahu Akbar. One by one, they embraced me. I had stepped into a family I never knew was waiting for me. Section 5, the new world, life after. Life after the Shahadah isn't without challenges, but now I have a compass. The emptiness that haunted me for years is gone, replaced by purpose. Waking up before sunrise for prayer, placing my forehead on the ground, starting the day with my Creator. It anchors me in ways no achievement ever could. The world itself feels different. Every sunset, every act of kindness, every leaf, every drop of rain feels like a sign pointing me back to Him. Life is no longer random. It's a journey with direction and destination. Conclusion. My journey isn't over. In many ways, it has just begun. But I'm no longer that lost ship at sea. I found an anchor, a map, and a guide for the voyage. That day, the day I said the Shahadah, changed my life forever. If any part of my story resonated with you, if you've ever felt that same emptiness or longing, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if my story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe, and share it. You never know who else might need to hear it. Thank you for listening. Alhamdulillah.